You think the chosen one feeling is ego? No. Ego wants to be crowned. A signal wants you to move. The first test is simple. When that feeling shows up, do you reach for attention or do you reach for structure? Ego reaches for attention. A real signal reaches for reality. Most people misread the moment. They feel a strange inner pressure and they rush to label it gifted, special, different, chosen. Then they start speaking in big words. They start telling people what they are meant to do. But their life does not change. Their habits do not change. Their output does not change. That is how a signal dies. A signal is not a compliment. It is not the universe clapping for you. It is a demand. It is a call to mature. If you have felt it, you know what I mean. It is not a cute rush. It is not a fun idea. It is heavy. It is quiet. It is persistent. You can be sitting in a normal room doing a normal task and it hits you. This is not it. This is not who I am. This is not the size of my life. And the moment after that thought, you feel both clarity and fear. Clarity, because you can see the gap. Fear, because you realize you have to cross it. That gap is where people split. One group turns it into a fantasy. They treat the feeling like a status upgrade. They use it to separate themselves from others. They begin to believe they are exempt from ordinary discipline. They start to think rules are for people who do not get it. They float above the basics. Sleep gets sloppy. Work gets inconsistent. Relationships become a stage. Every conversation becomes proof that other people are behind. The second group does something less dramatic and far more powerful. They accept the feeling as a signal. Then they get to work. Not with hype, with precision. Not with speeches, with practice. Here is the difference you can trust. Ego wants to be seen. A signal wants to be built. Ego says, notice me. A signal says, train me. Ego is loud inside your head. A signal is steady in your body. Ego makes you compare. A signal makes you focus. Ego feeds on reactions. A signal feeds on repetition. If you want to handle this right, you must stop treating the feeling as proof. A feeling is not proof. It is a notification, like a light on a dashboard. It does not mean the car is already fixed. It means you need to respond. This is where people get confused about humility. Humility does not mean thinking small. Humility means you stop adding stories to the signal. You stop turning it into identity jewelry. You let it stay plain. A message, a direction. A true signal has one job. It pulls you toward alignment. Alignment is not mystical. It is practical. Alignment means your actions match your values. Your schedule matches your priorities. Your environment matches your goals. Your words match your work. If you feel chosen and your life is still chaotic, do not panic. Do not force a spiritual explanation. Just take it as data. The signal is not asking for a label. It is asking for a container. A container is what holds the energy without letting it leak into fantasies. Without a container, the chosen one feeling becomes a drug. You keep chasing the emotional high of being special while your life stays the same. That is the trap. So let us put the feeling where it belongs. On the ground, in the calendar, in the body, in the work. Start with this truth. If it is real, it will ask for responsibility. It will not only ask for meaning, it will ask for maturity. Responsibility does not mean you carry the world. It means you carry your part. And your part is not vague. It is specific. A signal always points toward one of three things. A skill you must build. A problem you must solve. A pattern you must end. Skill, problem, pattern. If you want clarity, pick one. Do not pick 10. Do not try to become everything overnight. A signal is sharp. It does not scatter you. Ego scatters you. If you have been scattered, that is not shame. It is feedback. Come back to one lane. First, choose the craft. What is the thing you must get good at? Writing, teaching, designing, leading, healing, building, selling, speaking, pick the craft that keeps returning to you even when you try to ignore it. That recurring pull is not random. It is the signal trying to land. Second, choose the standard. What does consistent look like for you? Not perfect. Consistent. 3 focused hours a day. 1 finished piece per week. 10 pages before lunch. 5 outreach messages every weekday. A standard turns emotion into motion. Third, choose the proof. Proof is output that exists outside your head. A draft, a prototype, a lesson, a plan, a result someone can touch. Ego loves ideas. A signal demands proof. Now, a warning that matters. This feeling can get mixed with instability if you do not stay grounded. When your body is depleted, your mind starts to dramatize. You interpret ordinary friction as destiny. You interpret criticism as persecution. You interpret discipline as oppression. That is not awakening. That is stress wearing spiritual clothes. So do not skip the basics. Sleep is not optional. Food is not optional. Movement is not optional. Silence is not optional. If you cannot hold silence, you cannot hold a signal, because silence is where you hear what is real and what is performance. There is also a social trap. When people feel chosen, they often isolate in the wrong way. They cut everyone off. They treat solitude as superiority. They turn loneliness into a badge. Healthy solitude is different. Healthy solitude is temporary. It is used for focus. It is used for recovery. It is used for deep work. And then you return to people with something to offer. The signal is not trying to make you above others. It is trying to make you useful. Usefulness is the cleanest spiritual test. If your growth makes you kinder, more stable, more capable, it is real. If your growth makes you arrogant, chaotic, and allergic to feedback, it is ego. So here is the line you can live by. Ego wants a crown. A signal wants a craft. If you have the chosen one feeling, treat it like a responsibility invitation. Do not announce it. Build it. Let the work stay quiet at first. Let the schedule get stronger. Let the body get steadier. Let the output pile up. Then something interesting happens. The feeling stops needing words because it becomes visible in your life. And when it becomes visible, you do not have to convince anyone. Reality does it for you. You know, it is a signal because it does not feel like a victory. It feels like pressure. It shows up when your life looks fine from the outside, but something inside you refuses to agree. You can be doing the same routines, smiling at the right moments, hitting the basic targets, and still there is a tightness in your chest that does not leave. Not anxiety in the messy sense, more like a clean, sharp tension, a sense that you are living below your real standard. That is why the chosen one feeling is often misunderstood. People expect a spiritual calling to feel sweet. They expect inspiration, light, certainty, but the real signal usually arrives as discomfort because it is not praising your current life. It is confronting it. The signal is the part of you that can no longer tolerate self-betrayal. It is the part that sees your potential clearly enough that your excuses stop working. And it is not trying to entertain you. It is trying to move you. A lot of people think they want purpose. What they really want is relief. They want a story that makes their pain feel special. They want a label that explains why they struggle. They want a meaning that lets them stay the same. A signal does the opposite. It removes comfort. It narrows your options. It makes the small life feel impossible. You start noticing things you used to ignore. You notice how often you say yes when you mean no. How often you delay what matters, then fill the day with noise. How often you act confident in public, then collapse in private. How often you keep relationships that drain you because letting go would force you to grow. The signal makes these patterns feel loud, not because you are broken, because you are ready. Ready is not a mood. Ready is when the cost of staying the same becomes higher than the cost of changing. That is why the feeling is heavy. It is the weight of a decision you have been avoiding. It is the realization that your life is not just happening to you. You are choosing it every day. with your habits, with your standards, with what you tolerate. When the signal hits, your tolerance drops. You cannot laugh at jokes that do not fit your values. You cannot pretend to care about goals that are not yours. You cannot chase approval the same way because it starts to taste empty. This is where many people panic. They call it burnout. They call it depression. They call it a phase. Sometimes it overlaps with those things, sure, but often it is simpler. Your identity is outgrowing your environment. Your future is pulling you away from your past. The tension is the stretch. Think of it like this. When you lift a weight, the muscle does not grow in comfort. It grows under controlled strain. A signal is controlled strain if you handle it right. If you handle it wrong, it becomes chaos. Handling it wrong looks like this. You dramatize the feeling. You romanticize the struggle. You talk about the calling more than you act on it. You start collecting spiritual concepts like trophies. You keep waiting for a sign while ignoring the one you already have. The one you already have is pressure. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is direction. It points to the area where your next level is non-negotiable. So instead of asking, why do I feel this? Ask, what is this pressure asking me to stop doing? Because the signal usually begins with subtraction. Stop living small does not always mean quit your job today. It means quit the habits that shrink you. Quit the conversations that keep you shallow. Quit the excuses that keep you safe. Small living is not about money. Small living is about avoidance. Avoidance of effort. Avoidance of responsibility. Avoidance of discomfort. Avoidance of truth. The signal is truth, pressing against your denial. And it does not come to destroy you. It comes to organize you. You can feel the difference between pressure that is aligned and pressure that is fear. Fear, pressure scatters you. It makes you frantic. It makes you chase 10 things at once. It makes you look for shortcuts and quick validation. Aligned pressure gathers you. It makes you quieter. It makes you more selective. It makes you willing to disappoint people, not because you are cold, but because you are committed. Committed to what? Committed to your real life. Most people never meet their real life. They meet a socially acceptable version, a version built from expectations, a version built from coping, a version built from what seemed possible at the time. The signal is the moment you realize that version is not enough anymore. That is why it does not feel fun. Fun is easy. Fun is light. A signal is serious. It is the difference between wanting and deciding. Wanting is emotional. Deciding is structural. The feeling you have is the bridge between the two. It is energy pushing you out of wanting and into deciding. So treat it with respect, not with fantasy, not with shame. Here is the clean way to respond. First, name what you refuse to tolerate anymore. Be specific, not I refuse to be average. That is ego language. Say, I refuse to waste my mornings. I refuse to numb myself every night. I refuse to stay in relationships that require me to shrink. I refuse to keep postponing the work that matters to me. Second, choose one standard that proves you are serious. One, not a reinvention. A standard. Wake up at the same time. Train your body 4 times a week. Write 500 words a day. Build 1 portfolio piece per week. Have 1 honest conversation you have been avoiding. Pick the one that, if you did it consistently, would change your identity. Third, protect your attention like it is your future, because it is. The signal cannot stabilize in a distracted mind. If your day is full of noise, your pressure will turn into anxiety. Not because the signal is wrong, because you are not giving it a place to land. This is why solitude starts showing up, not as loneliness, as a requirement. A signal needs space. Space to think clearly. Space to feel without numbing. Space to hear what you actually want. And yes, it can be uncomfortable because in the quiet, you cannot hide from yourself. That is the point. The chosen one feeling is not a badge. It is a confrontation. It confronts your habits. It confronts your relationships. It confronts your timeline. It asks one hard question. Are you willing to become the person your future requires? This is why the feeling is heavy, because deep down, you already know the answer is not a thought. It is a series of actions, repeated, boring, precise, and that is where real people separate from performers. Performers love intense emotions. Real builders love steady routines. If you are feeling that pressure, do not try to escape it. Do not try to explain it away. Do not try to turn it into a personality. Put it to work. Let it push you toward the sentence you have been avoiding, the boundary you have been avoiding, the skill you have been avoiding, the practice you have been avoiding. The signal is not saying you are above people. It is saying you are responsible for more than you have been giving. Do not take that personally. Take it professionally, because the most spiritual thing you can do with a signal is make it real. You keep going to work. You keep showing up. You keep saying the right things. From the outside, nothing looks broken. Inside, the rhythm is off. It starts small. A meeting ends, people laugh, and you smile at the right time. But the smile feels delayed, like your body is participating while your mind is somewhere else. You hear yourself speaking, and it sounds rehearsed, not fake, just distant. You notice how often conversations circle the same safe topics: weekend plans, traffic, trends, opinions that cost nothing. You nod, you respond, you keep it smooth. Then you walk away and feel empty. Not sad, not angry, just underfed. You begin to crave depth the way a tired body craves sleep, not because you want drama, because you want reality. This is the mirror. It shows you the gap between your outer life and your inner standard. The gap shows up everywhere. You wake up, check your phone, and feel the day shrink. You complete tasks, and none of them feel connected to what matters. You get praise, and it lands like dust. You make money, and it does not solve the quiet problem. You rest, and it does not restore you. Because the issue is not fatigue. The issue is misalignment. Misalignment has a specific taste. It feels like living in a room that does not fit your body anymore. You can still stand there. You can still function, but you keep bumping into invisible walls. That is why you start losing patience for surface talk. Surface talk is not the enemy. It just becomes obvious. It becomes thin. And when your mind can see thinness, it cannot pretend it is full. You might even start questioning yourself. Why am I reacting like this? Why do I feel bored around people I used to enjoy? Why do I feel irritated by things that used to feel normal? The answer is not that you are superior. The answer is that you are awake to your own potential. And potential makes comfort feel expensive. This is where the chosen one feeling hides. Not in pride, in discomfort that refuses to leave. You keep doing normal life, but normal life stops satisfying the deeper part of you. That deeper part starts asking for receipts. It asks for proof that your days mean something, not meaning as a philosophy, meaning as a pattern. You begin to see your weeks like a map. Where is the growth? Where is the craft? Where is the contribution? Where is the courage? If you cannot find it, the pressure increases. It is not punishment. It is a mirror refusing to lie. You can feel it in your body. Your shoulders hold tension longer than they should. Your jaw tightens in quiet moments. You take a deep breath and it does not reach the bottom. Even your rest feels incomplete, because rest without alignment is just pause. It is not recovery. Then the thought arrives, sharp and honest. If I keep living like this, I will die in the old version of myself. Not physical death, a different kind, the death of possibility, the death of self-respect, the slow death of knowing you could have lived larger, cleaner, truer. That thought is brutal, but it is also sane. It tells you that your inner life is not interested in comfort at any price. It is interested in integrity. Integrity is when you stop living two lives. One you show and one you feel. One you perform and one you want. One you tolerate and someone you respect. The mirror shows you the cost of splitting. A split life creates quiet resentment. Resentment towards your job, even if it is not terrible. Resentment toward people, even if they have done nothing wrong. Resentment toward yourself, because you know you are cooperating with a life that is too small. That resentment is not a personality flaw. It is information. It says you are outgrowing your current rules. Most people do not like this stage because it is awkward. You are not fully who you were and not yet who you are becoming. Your old motivations stop working. Your old rewards stop landing. Your old distractions stop soothing. This is why you feel detached. Detachment is often misread as coldness. It is not coldness. It is transition. In transition, you stop feeding on what used to feed you. And until you build new nourishment, you feel hungry. That hunger is the mirror. It shows you what you have been living on. Approval, safety, routine, noise, comfort disguised as stability. The mirror is not judging you. It is simply showing you the truth. Truth is uncomfortable when you have been living on adaptation. Adaptation is how you survive. Alignment is how you live. In this stage, you start noticing another detail. You do not want to quit everything. You just want to stop pretending. You want to stop pretending you enjoy what you do not enjoy. You want to stop pretending you are fine with what you are not fine with. You want to stop pretending your future is optional, because the future is not optional. The moment you can imagine a better life, that imagination becomes a responsibility, not to fantasize, to build. This is also why you become sensitive to wasted time. A random scroll feels heavier than it used to. A pointless argument feels more expensive. A lazy morning feels like betrayal. A night of numbing feels like you are stealing from yourself. This is not obsession. It is calibration. You are calibrating to a new standard. A new standard changes your tolerance. You tolerate less dishonesty, less drama, less vague goals, less empty friendships, less excuses that can make you feel lonely. Not because you are better, because the old patterns were social glue. When you stop using those patterns, some connections loosen. This is part of the mirror too. It shows you which relationships are built on growth and which are built on sameness. Growth relationships can handle your transition. They do not need you to stay small to feel safe. Sameness relationships often push back, softly or directly. They call you intense. They call you different. They tell you to relax. Sometimes they mean well. Sometimes they are afraid of their own mirror. Either way, the decision stays yours. The mirror is not asking you to abandon people. It is asking you to stop abandoning yourself. That is the core tension. You can keep the outer life intact while your inner life quietly collapses. Or you can let the mirror change your choices. This stage demands one clean action. Not a big announcement, not a dramatic exit. One clean action. Clean action means it matches the new standard. It could be setting a boundary you keep avoiding. It could be waking up earlier and protecting the first hour. It could be turning one skill into daily practice. It could be removing one habit that keeps you dull. It could be committing to one piece of real output every day. The mirror does not need you to do everything. It needs you to do something honest, because honesty creates momentum. Momentum reduces the inner split. And when the split reduces, the noise in your head softens. You start to feel a new kind of calm, not the calm of giving up, the calm of choosing. Choosing ends the old version, gently but firmly, not with drama, with direction. If you are in this mirror stage, do not try to cheer yourself out of it. Do not try to joke it away. Do not try to label it as a problem. Treat it as maturity arriving. Your boredom is not random. Your irritation is not random. Your hunger for depth is not random. It is the signal getting closer to the surface. And it is asking a simple question. Will you keep living in a life that looks normal while your real self waits outside the door? That is the moment the field sends a notification, not a magical message in the sky. a clean internal alert that your old operating system cannot run your next life. An identity shift begins the same way every time. First, your old routines stop giving you the same results. Then, your old distractions stop working. Then, your old explanations stop sounding convincing. Finally, your old identity starts feeling like a costume. This is not because you are better than other people. It is because you are changing. And change always creates friction with the habits that build the previous version. The field is a useful word for something simple. It is the larger environment of information, feedback, and consequence that you live inside. Every choice you make enters that environment. Every pattern you repeat leaves a trace. Over time, that environment responds, not with emotions, with outcomes. When people say they feel a calling, the clean translation is this: their internal compass has updated, their standards have updated, their tolerance has updated, their future is pulling them forward, and their past is trying to keep them consistent. That tension is the notification. A timeline is not fantasy either. A timeline is the set of consequences that naturally follow from repeated behaviors. If you repeat the same inputs, you get the same outputs. That is a timeline. If you change the inputs, you shift the outputs over time. That is a new timeline. Most people want a new timeline without new inputs. They want a different life while keeping the same habits. That is why the identity shift feels aggressive. It is your system refusing that contradiction. The new timeline you sense is incompatible with the routines you have been living. Incompatible means the math does not work. You cannot build a larger life with a small schedule. You cannot develop a real craft with casual effort. You cannot lead people while you avoid difficult conversations. You cannot create freedom while you stay addicted to comfort. You cannot claim a higher standard while your daily actions vote for something else. The field does not argue, it simply reflects. So when the notification arrives, it is not flattering you. It is inviting you to upgrade your structure. The mistake is to confuse the notification with a title. Chosen, special, different. Those words can become a trap. A title feeds ego. A signal feeds responsibility. Ego loves the idea that you were selected for greatness. Because greatness sounds like a crown, but crowns are external. They come from other people, from attention, from status, from applause. A signal does not care about applause. A signal cares about build. Ego wants a crown. A signal demands a craft. Craft is internal. It is the ability to do something well, consistently, under pressure, without needing permission. Craft is what turns potential into proof. Craft is what makes a person useful. Not in a small way, in a real way. This is why the identity shift begins with discomfort, because the field is not asking you to feel special. It is asking you to become capable. Capability is honest. It cannot be faked for long. It does not care what you believe about yourself. It only cares what you can produce. There is a clean sign that you are dealing with a true signal. The signal makes you think about standards, not fantasies. You start asking practical questions. What do I need to learn? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to build daily? Who do I need to become to hold the outcome I want? Ego asks different questions. Why do people not see me? Why does no one understand me? Why am I surrounded by average minds? When will my moment arrive? One set of questions creates craft. The other creates bitterness. The field sends the notification when your inner life gets tired of waiting for permission. Permission to grow. Permission to change. Permission to take yourself seriously. That is why the notification often arrives right after you feel out of sync with your old life. The mirror stage makes you aware of the gap. The reveal stage gives the gap a name. The gap is identity. The gap is timeline. Your current habits were designed for your old identity. They match your previous goals, your previous fears, your previous social rules. They kept you safe. They helped you fit in. They helped you survive. But survival habits do not automatically create expansion. At some point, they become the cage. The field does not punish you for the cage. It simply keeps you there until you change the locks from the inside. So the reveal is this: the chosen one feeling is not a sign that you are above people. It is a sign that your life must become more deliberate. Deliberate means you stop living by default. You stop letting moods decide your day. You stop letting random inputs set your focus. You stop letting other people's expectations dictate your pace. Deliberate means you make commitments. Not dramatic commitments, clean ones. This is where many people resist, because commitment removes fantasy. Fantasy keeps every option open. Commitment forces a decision, and decisions create consequences. The field responds to decisions. If your timeline is changing, your identity must change with it. Identity is not affirmations. Identity is behavior that stays consistent long enough to become you. That is the reason the new timeline feels incompatible with the old routine. The routine is the current identity. The timeline you sense requires a different identity. So the field applies pressure until you adapt. Pressure is not cruelty. It is calibration. Calibration is the process of aligning your internal sense of who you are with the external evidence of how you live. When calibration begins, the first thing that changes is what feels normal. Old habits start to feel ugly. Old distractions start to feel loud. Old goals start to feel borrowed. Old relationships start to feel thin. This is not because those things are evil. It is because your internal frequency is shifting, and what used to match no longer matches. The clean response is not to judge your past. The clean response is to build your craft. Craft becomes the bridge between the signal and the timeline. Without craft, the signal turns into self-mythology. You start speaking in big language, but you cannot hold consistent output. You start collecting concepts, but you cannot hold stable habits. You start imagining impact, but you cannot finish what you start. The field does not reward imagination. It rewards execution. Execution does not need intensity. It needs structure. Structure is the invisible proof of seriousness. It is how you show the field. You heard the notification. A few truths land hard here, and they are useful. The timeline you want will not be granted by confidence. It will be earned by consistency. The identity you want will not arrive through self-belief alone. It will arrive through repeated behavior that becomes non-negotiable. The respect you want from the world will not come from announcing your potential. It will come from the quiet weight of your results. So hold the reveal in a mature way. The field sent a notification. An identity shift is starting. Not because you are special, because you are responsible for more than you have been living. That responsibility is not a burden if you treat it correctly. It is direction. The moment you stop chasing the crown, the craft becomes possible. And when the craft becomes real, the crown becomes irrelevant. Because the only thing that matters then is this: your life finally matches what your signal has been trying to tell you. This is where most people destroy the signal. They hold it like a title. They treat it like proof. They turn it into a story about who they are. And the story becomes more important than the work. They start speaking in the language of destiny. They talk about their mission. They talk about impact. They talk about being called. But their daily life stays unstable. Their sleep is inconsistent. Their focus is scattered. Their money habits are sloppy. Their relationships are reactive. Their calendar is chaos. A real signal does not make your life noisier. It makes your life more exact. It forces clarity. It forces structure. It forces you to grow up. But ego hates that part. Ego wants the reward without the refinement. Ego wants the identity without the discipline. Ego wants the spotlight without the standards. So it does what ego always does. It performs. Performance looks spiritual, but it is still performance. It uses big concepts to avoid small commitments. It uses language to avoid output. It uses meaning to avoid responsibility. And for a while, that can feel powerful because words create emotion. Emotion can feel like progress. But reality does not respond to emotion. Reality responds to pattern. This is the cold part. Reality does not negotiate with your self-image. It does not care what you call yourself. It does not care what you believe about your purpose. It cares what you do repeatedly. When your words and your patterns do not match, reality pushes back, not out of cruelty, out of physics. Misalignment creates friction. Friction creates resistance. Resistance feels like life is stuck. This is why people say everything is blocked, nothing is moving. I am doing the inner work, but nothing changes. In many cases, the answer is simple. You are trying to enter a new timeline with an old operating system. You are trying to hold a bigger identity with smaller habits. You are trying to keep the old ego intact while claiming the new path. Reality will not support that split. Here is what resistance looks like. You set a goal, but you cannot stay consistent. You start a project, but you abandon it when the novelty fades. You attract opportunities, then lose them because you cannot deliver. You meet the right people, then sabotage it with ego reactions. You get a clear next step, then delay it until you feel inspired again. The more you delay, the heavier the signal gets. The more you perform, the less grounded you feel. The less grounded you feel, the more you talk. The more you talk, the less you do. This loop is how people turn a signal into self-destruction. The field does not reward the performance. It exposes it. It exposes it through consequences. Deadlines slip, money tightens, energy drops, relationships strain, confidence becomes unstable. And at this point, ego adds a new story. It says, the world is against me. People are jealous. The system is blocking me. Sometimes there are real obstacles, but often the biggest obstacle is internal refusal. Refusal to become disciplined. Refusal to become teachable. Refusal to become consistent. Refusal to let the old identity die. That is the key line. The old identity must die, or the new timeline cannot open. Not dramatic death, functional death, the death of certain habits, the death of certain excuses, the death of certain social masks, the death of needing validation to move. If you keep the old ego alive, you keep the old timeline alive. Because ego is a routine. Ego is a pattern. Ego is a set of reflexes. Reality responds to reflexes. So when people say, the more I try, the more stuck I feel, it is often this, they are trying to force expansion while protecting comfort. They want growth without discomfort. They want power without responsibility. They want purpose without practice. Reality refuses, and it refuses in a very specific way. It makes the path feel heavy until you get honest. It makes progress slow until you get consistent. It makes results unstable until your habits stabilize. This is why the resistance feels cold, because it is not personal, it is mechanical. If you push against a locked door the wrong way, it does not open because you are emotional. It opens when you use the right key. The key is craft. Ego wants a crown. A signal demands a craft. Crown thinking creates three dangerous behaviors. First announcement before achievement. People speak as if the mission is already real. They share plans like results. They collect praise for potential. That praise becomes a substitute for the work, and the work gets delayed. Second, identity inflation. People start acting above feedback. They stop learning. They stop asking questions. They become allergic to critique. Craft needs critique. Craft grows through correction. If you cannot be corrected, you cannot become excellent. Third, avoidance disguised as spirituality. People stop doing the boring basics. They skip sleep. They skip training. They skip planning. They skip finishing. They say they are flowing, but it is not flow. It is escape. These three behaviors create the same outcome. Life gets stuck. Not because the signal was false, because it was mishandled. A real signal is like electricity. If you channel it, it powers a city. If you do not, it burns the house. Channeling means structure. Structure is not punishment. It is the safe container for intensity. Without structure, intensity turns into instability. You feel high one day, empty the next. You start strong, then disappear. You promise, then vanish. You commit, then quit. Every quit trains your nervous system to distrust you. And once you distrust yourself, you seek external validation even more. Then ego grows stronger. Then reality pushes back harder. This is how the trap tightens. So the tension is supposed to scare you in a useful way. It is supposed to show you the cost of handling the signal wrong. Because if you keep treating the signal as a title, you will become fragile. Fragile people cannot hold big missions. They break under pressure. They break under critique. They break under responsibility. A signal is not telling you that you are ready for greatness. It is telling you that you must train for it. Training is not glamorous. It is repetitive. It is private. It is slow. It is honest. And training creates the only thing reality respects: reliability. Reliability is when you do what you said you would do, even when you are not in the mood, even when no one is watching, even when it feels boring. If you want to stop life from resisting you, stop resisting the upgrade. Stop trying to keep the old self comfortable. Stop trying to sound advanced while living undisciplined. Stop treating potential like a credential. The field is not asking you to be impressive. It is asking you to be precise. Precision looks like this. You choose one craft. You build a schedule around it. You measure output, not feelings. You protect sleep. You train your body. You clean up your environment. You reduce noise. You finish what you start. Then the resistance changes. It does not disappear, but it becomes clean. It becomes the resistance of growth, not the resistance of misalignment. You still work hard, but you stop feeling blocked. You start feeling directed. That is the difference. If your life feels stuck right now, do not assume you are cursed. Assume you are split. A split between the identity you claim and the habits you keep. A split between the mission you speak and the structure you refuse. A split between the timeline you want and the discipline you avoid. Reality will keep pushing back until that split closes, not to punish you, to make you real. If it is ego, you will need an audience. If it is a signal, you will need discipline. That is the breakthrough that clears the fog. Ego cannot survive in silence. Ego needs a mirror made of other people's eyes. It needs applause to feel real. It needs attention to stay warm. So it searches for stages. A signal is the opposite. A signal does not ask for a stage. It asks for a schedule. It asks for a practice. It asks for a standard you will hold even when no one is watching. This is why the chosen one feeling becomes dangerous in the wrong hands. Because the ego hears it as status. The ego hears you are important. Then it starts demanding proof from the world. But the signal hears it as responsibility. The signal hears you are needed. Then it starts demanding proof from you. There is a clean way to test which one is running your life. Ask yourself what you want more: to be recognized or to be ready. Ego wants recognition first. Ready can wait. Craft can wait. Consistency can wait, because ego believes the story is enough. A signal wants readiness first. Recognition can wait. Recognition is a side effect, not a goal. Because a signal understands that if you cannot hold the work, you cannot hold the impact. So the breakthrough is not a motivational quote. It is a correction in priorities. You are not chosen to be admired. You are chosen to endure the refinement process. Refinement is not glamorous. It is slow. It is repetitive. It is often boring. It asks you to do the same essential actions again and again until they become skill. Most people do not want refinement. They want permission to skip it. That is why they chase the label. Chosen, gifted, different. Labels feel like shortcuts. But a true signal never offers shortcuts. It offers training. Training is the price of carrying a larger timeline. If you cannot carry training, you cannot carry the mission you fantasize about, because the mission is not a poem. It is pressure. It is responsibility. It is complexity. It is criticism. It is unpredictability. If you are truly called, you will be tested, not by fate, by reality. Reality tests you with simple questions. Can you show up when you do not feel like it? Can you stay consistent after the excitement fades? Can you finish what you start? Can you learn without taking feedback personally? Can you hold a standard when no one claps? This is why discipline is not a harsh word here. Discipline is love in a practical form. It is how you protect the signal from your own volatility. Most people think discipline means forcing. That is a childish view. Real discipline is clarity. Discipline means you decide what matters and you arrange your life around that decision. You do not negotiate daily with your future. You do not vote against your goals in small hidden ways. You make the decision once, then you live it. That is maturity. And maturity is what the signal is trying to produce in you. If you take the chosen feeling seriously, you will become more grounded, not more dramatic. You will become more precise, not more mystical. You will become less needy, not more demanding. Needy people want an audience. Capable people want a craft. So let us get concrete. If the signal is real, it will push you toward 3 types of discipline. Time discipline, attention discipline, identity discipline. Time discipline is the easiest to understand and the hardest to execute. It means your schedule reflects your priorities, not your mood, not your social obligations, not your anxiety. You block time for the craft every day. You do it early if you can, before the world pulls you into noise. You treat it like a meeting with your future. You do not cancel it because you feel tired. You adjust, but you do not disappear. Attention discipline is the secret weapon, because the modern world is designed to steal your focus. A signal cannot grow in stolen attention. So attention discipline means you reduce inputs. You stop feeding your mind random content that keeps you shallow. You limit social media. You protect quiet hours. You create clean spaces for deep work. This is not extreme. It is sane, because if you are building something real, you cannot live like someone who is only consuming. Identity discipline is the deepest. It means you act like the person you say you want to become before you feel fully ready. This is where many people fall back into ego. They keep waiting to feel like the new identity. They keep waiting for confidence. They keep waiting for proof. But identity is not a feeling. Identity is a pattern. You become the person by doing what that person does over and over until it becomes normal. That is the refinement process. And yes, it can be uncomfortable because you will feel the old self pulling you back. The old self will say, rest. The old self will say, later. The old self will say, you deserve a break. The old self will say, you are not ready. Sometimes rest is correct. Sometimes later is correct. But often those voices are not wisdom. They are the old identity protecting its comfort. The signal does not care about the comfort of the old identity. It cares about the survival of the new one. This is why you were not chosen for admiration. Admiration does not build character. Admiration does not build skill. Admiration does not build stability. You were chosen for refinement. Refinement builds all of it. Refinement builds your nervous system. It teaches you to tolerate discomfort without collapsing. It teaches you to stay steady when emotions swing. It teaches you to move forward without needing constant motivation. That steadiness is what separates people who create impact from people who only talk about it. Here is another test that cuts through confusion. When you imagine your mission, do you imagine being seen, or do you imagine doing the work? Ego imagines being seen. It imagines interviews. It imagines praise. It imagines the moment people finally understand. A signal imagines doing the work. It imagines long hours of practice. It imagines problem solving. It imagines becoming better. It imagines carrying weight. If you feel more excited about being seen than becoming skilled, that is ego. If you feel more committed to becoming skilled than being seen, that is signal. The breakthrough is not to shame yourself. The breakthrough is to redirect the energy. Take the desire to be special and convert it into a standard. Take the pressure you feel and convert it into a routine. Take the tension in your chest and convert it into daily output. That is how you honor the signal. Because the field does not reward intensity. It rewards integrity. Integrity is when your private life matches your public words. When your schedule matches your claims. When your habits match your future. This is why discipline is the answer. Not because you need to be harder on yourself. Because you need to be more honest with yourself. Honesty looks like this. You do not need more signs. You need more reps. You do not need more spiritual language. You need more structure. You do not need more validation. You need more practice. And when you do that, something changes inside you. The chosen one feeling stops being a swelling ego story. It becomes a calm, grounded certainty, not certainty that you will be famous. Certainty that you will do the work. That is the real breakthrough. If it is ego, you need an audience. If it is a signal, you need discipline. Choose discipline. It is the only thing strong enough to carry what you say you are called to build. Handle it right by treating the signal like an assignment, not a personality. A signal is raw energy. If you do not give it a process, it turns into noise. If you do give it a process, it becomes results. The goal is simple. Convert inner intensity into external proof. Not once. Consistently. That is how a signal becomes a timeline. Step 1, drop special down to service. The chosen one story collapses when you ask the right question. Not, who am I? That question can inflate the ego for years. It keeps you circling yourself. Ask, what problem can I solve? And for who? Service is not charity. Service is function. It is value delivered. The field does not reward self-focus. It rewards usefulness. When you focus on service, the energy cleans up. You stop looking for signs about your identity. You start looking for data about your impact. So get specific. Who do you want to help? Not everyone. Pick one group you understand. People like you a few years ago. People with a pain you have already survived. People stuck in a problem you have learned to navigate. Then name the problem in plain language. Not, I help people awaken. Say, I help people stop wasting their mornings. I help people rebuild discipline after burnout. I help people turn skill into income. I help people stop sabotaging relationships with avoidance. Plain language keeps you honest. It prevents spiritual performance. It forces clarity. If you cannot explain your service simply, you do not own the craft yet. That is not shame. That is a target. Step doi. Prove it to reality, not to social media. The most common mistake is to seek proof from attention. Likes, comments, shares. Those are not proof. They are reactions. A signal cannot live on reactions. It needs output. Output is what exists after the mood leaves. Output is what remains when no one is watching. So choose a daily output that is small enough to do on your worst day, not your best day. Your worst day. 1 page written, 1 short video recorded, 30 minutes of skill practice, 1 lesson delivered, 1 product improved, 1 sales call made, 1 offer refined. Small, consistent output creates identity. Identity creates confidence. Confidence attracts opportunity. Do not reverse the order. People try to get confident first, then act. That is ego logic. Signal logic is different. Act first. Become real. Then confidence arrives as a side effect. Your output does not need to be impressive. It needs to be consistent, because consistency is a form of integrity. And integrity is what reality supports. If you are serious, measure your output, not your feelings. Feelings change daily. Output accumulates. When output accumulates, you build momentum. When you build momentum, the chosen feeling stabilizes. It stops being an emotional spike. It becomes a quiet motor. Step tray, anchor it in the body so you do not float. A strong signal in a weak body becomes distortion. It becomes mania. It becomes paranoia. It becomes dramatic spiritual thinking. Not because you are broken, because your nervous system is overloaded. So you anchor. Sleep is the first anchor. You do not need perfect sleep. You need protected sleep. Set a consistent window. Reduce screens before bed. Stop negotiating with your bedtime every night. Your future needs you rested, not inspired. Food is the second anchor. Clean food, simple food, enough protein, enough water. Not as a lifestyle trend, as nervous system support. Movement is the third anchor. Daily walking, strength training a few times a week, mobility, breath, anything that puts you back in your body. The body is where reality lives. If you cannot stay in your body, you cannot build in reality. This is also why grounding makes you less reactive. Less reactive means fewer self-sabotage moments. And self-sabotage is what kills most signals. Step pat true. Cut the 3 traps before they cut you. Trap 1, the Messiah trap. It sounds noble. I am here to save people. I am here to change the world. But it often hides a refusal to handle your own schedule, a refusal to master basics, a refusal to serve one person well before trying to serve everyone. The Messiah trap inflates the mission and avoids the method. The correction is simple. Shrink the mission into a daily practice. Start with 1 deliverable, 1 person helped, 1 problem solved, 1 craft improved. Save your calendar first. Then your message becomes credible. Trap 2, the isolation trap. Some people confuse solitude with superiority. They disappear from life and call it awakening. They avoid relationships, feedback, and responsibility, and they call it spiritual growth. Isolation can feel clean because no one challenges you there. No one sees your inconsistency there. No one triggers your ego there. But a real signal is not meant to make you avoid people. It is meant to make you more stable with people. The correction is balance. Use solitude for deep work. Use community for refinement. If you never return to people, you are not building a craft. You are building a fantasy. Trap 3, the bypass trap. This is the most subtle one. You use spiritual language to avoid pain. You call it energy when it is grief. You call it vibration when it is fear. You call it alignment when it is avoidance. Bypass keeps you floating above your own reality. And as long as you float, you cannot build. The correction is honesty. Name the real emotion. Anger, shame, grief, fear. Then handle it like an adult. Talk to someone qualified. Journal clearly. Sit with the discomfort without turning it into a concept. Make the hard phone call. Apologize where needed. End what you have been dragging out. Your signal will not stabilize until your emotional debt is paid down. Because emotional debt leaks focus. And focus is the fuel of craft. Now bring it all together. Service gives the signal direction. Output gives the signal proof. Body anchoring gives the signal stability. Trap cutting gives the signal protection. This is what handling it right looks like. Not mystical, practical, repeatable. If you do these 4 steps, something shifts. You stop needing to tell people you are chosen because your life starts showing evidence. Your relationships improve because you are less reactive. Your work improves because you have a standard. Your confidence improves because you keep promises to yourself, and the signal becomes clean. It stops being a story about you. It becomes a service through you. That is the point. Your gift is not proof. Your consistency is what turns a signal into a craft. Craft is what turns a craft into results. Results are what open the new timeline. Do the simple things. Daily, quietly, for long enough that reality has no choice but to respond. Real signals arrive in silence. Not silence as a mood. Silence as a condition. a condition where you can hear what is true without the noise of performance. Most people think they need more confidence. They do not. They need more quiet. Because in noise, ego can pretend. In noise, you can talk yourself into anything. In noise, you can confuse attention with progress. In noise, you can confuse intensity with direction. Silence removes the mask. And the mask is what keeps the signal blurry. A true signal does not show up when you are explaining yourself. It shows up when you are building, when your hands are moving, when your mind is focused, when your body is present. That is why the most important anchor is this. Stop trying to talk your way into a new timeline. Work your way into it. This is not anti-communication. This is anti-performance. Performance is when you speak to be seen. Alignment is when you act to become. A signal is alignment pressure. It pushes you toward actions that make you real. Silence helps because it forces a shift from identity talk to identity evidence. In the beginning, people use language to stabilize themselves. They announce goals. They share visions. They explain their calling. They look for reactions that confirm they are on the right path. That is understandable, but it is not stable. Reactions are unstable fuel. They spike you, then drop you. They make you chase, then crash. They keep your nervous system dependent on external feedback. A true signal asks for a different fuel. The fuel is repetition. Repetition does not care if you feel inspired. It does not care if people agree. It does not care if the room applauds. It only cares that you show up again. Silence is where repetition becomes possible, because silence removes distractions. Silence reduces comparison. Silence reduces the temptation to announce before you achieve. Silence makes it harder to lie to yourself. That is why a real signal feels cleaner in quiet. It is not competing with noise. Now, here is the problem. Many people hear silence and think isolation. They are not the same. Silence is internal. Isolation is social. Silence is a practice. Isolation is often a defense. You do not need to disappear from the world. You need to stop letting the world inside your head all day. That is the anchor. Stop letting external noise set your internal rhythm. You do that with 3 habits. 1, daily silence. Not dramatic meditation if that is not you. Simple silence. 10 minutes with no phone. No music. No scrolling. No talking. Just sit. Breathe. Let your mind settle. At first it will feel uncomfortable because you will hear your real thoughts, your real fears, your real excuses. That discomfort is useful. It shows you what is running you. When you can see what is running you, you can change it to silent work blocks. The signal strengthens when you give it a place to land, a place to translate into output. So create a daily work block with 1 rule: no audience. That means you do not post about it while you do it. You do not talk about it before you finish. You do not look for approval mid-process. You just build, write the page, record the video, practice the skill, make the call, edit the draft, ship the small deliverable. This is where the signal becomes real, not in planning, not in talking, in doing. 3, silent integrity. Integrity is the strongest anchor because it is private. It is the habit of keeping promises to yourself even when no one knows. Set 1 promise that is small and non-negotiable and keep it for 30 days. It can be as simple as this: no phone for the first hour after waking, or 1 page of writing before lunch, or a walk every evening, or training 3 times a week, or 1 outreach message daily. Small, clear, repeatable. This promise becomes your anchor because it teaches your nervous system a new truth. You can rely on yourself. When you can rely on yourself, the chosen one feeling stops being fragile. It stops needing validation. It stops needing stories. It becomes calm. That calm is not passive. It is grounded power. Now, This is the deeper reason silence matters. The field responds to evidence. Evidence is what your life shows, not what your mouth says. Evidence is your habits, your output, your consistency, your standards. When you live in noise, evidence becomes inconsistent because noise makes you reactive. You chase what feels urgent, not what is important. You respond to messages, not missions. You manage emotions, not outcomes. Silence reverses that. Silence puts you back in control of your attention. Attention is where your life goes. Where your attention goes, your identity follows. That is why doing matters more than speaking. Speaking can be useful, but it can also become a substitute. A substitute for work, a substitute for courage, a substitute for patience. You can talk about healing for years, or you can do the hard conversation and actually heal. You can talk about purpose for years, or you can do the daily practice that builds a purpose. You can talk about alignment for years, or you can align your schedule and let the results speak. A real signal will always push you toward the second path, because the signal does not want you to sound wise. It wants you to become capable. Capability is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need to. It shows in how you carry stress, in how you handle deadlines, in how you respond to criticism, in how you treat people when no one is watching, in how you keep your word. This is why the anchor line is true. Real signals come in silence, not while you are talking. While you are doing is where your identity forms. Identity is not an opinion about yourself. It is the shape of your daily life. So if you want the chosen feeling to stop hurting, stop feeding it with noise. Do not feed it with endless content. Do not feed it with endless conversations. Do not feed it with endless explanations. Feed it with structure. Feed it with repetition. Feed it with quiet output. A signal handled right is simple. You wake up. You protect a small pocket of silence. You do the work that matters. You take care of your body. You keep a clean promise. You repeat. At first it will feel small. That is fine. Small done consistently becomes big. Quiet done consistently becomes powerful. And the most interesting thing happens when you live like this. You stop asking, am I chosen? Because the question changes. The question becomes, am I ready? Ready is built in silence. Not in speeches, not in debates, not in performance, in work, in patience, in the private hour where you choose your craft over your comfort. That is where the signal becomes a timeline. And that is why silence is not emptiness. Silence is the place where your future can finally hear you. If you recognize yourself in this, do not rush to call yourself chosen. Do not build a new identity out of a feeling. Let the field verify you through behavior. The fastest way to ruin a real signal is to turn it into a label. Labels inflate, habits reveal. A label can be claimed in 1 minute. A habit takes days to form, weeks to stabilize, months to become character. So if this hits a nerve, treat it like a serious invitation, not an aesthetic, not a vibe, a contract with your future. Here is what that contract looks like in plain terms. You stop asking for reassurance. You start building evidence. You stop looking for someone to confirm your path. You start confirming it through output. You stop trying to sound like you have arrived. You start acting like someone who is willing to earn it. This is the only soft way that works. Soft does not mean weak. Soft means clean, no drama, no performance, just alignment. If you want a simple way to test whether this is ego or signal, use this rule. Ego wants to be noticed quickly. A signal can wait because it is busy working. So do not announce, do not defend, do not over-explain. Do the work in private until it becomes undeniable in public. That is how you keep your energy intact. Now, make this practical. Pick one habit that your future would recognize immediately. One habit that proves to you that you are serious. Not 10 habits. One habit. Choose the habit that makes you uncomfortable in a clean way. Not panic, not overwhelm, clean discomfort. The kind of discomfort that says, this will change me. It could be writing every morning for 30 minutes. It could be practicing one skill every day. It could be training your body 3 times a week. It could be shutting off your phone at a set hour. It could be 1 hour of deep work with 0 distractions. Pick one, then do it for 7 days. 7 days is not forever. 7 days is proof of intent. Most people cannot do 7 days, not because they are incapable, because they are not aligned. Alignment shows up when you can do the small thing consistently. If you do not finish 7 days, do not attack yourself. Just tell the truth. The truth might be you chose the wrong habit, or you chose the right habit and your environment is fighting it, or you are trying to build a new timeline while feeding old distractions. Truth gives you leverage. Fantasy gives you comfort. Choose leverage. Now, during those 7 days, pay attention to one thing, your urge to talk about it. If you feel the urge to announce, that is ego looking for a crown. If you feel the urge to protect the work and stay quiet, that is signal asking for craft. Do not shame the urge. Just notice it. Notice is power. Then redirect. Instead of posting, produce. Instead of explaining, execute. Instead of seeking agreement, build skill. This is how you convert energy into momentum. And momentum is what changes your timeline. Also, do not skip the body. If your body is unstable, your mind will turn every signal into a storm. So treat your body like the foundation. Sleep is not a reward. Sleep is the base layer of discipline. Food is not a moral debate. Food is nervous system support. Movement is not optional. Movement is how you keep your signal grounded. When you take care of the body, the signal becomes clear. When you neglect the body, the signal becomes loud and distorted. Clarity is what you want. Clarity makes action simple. Now, there is another quiet move that will protect you. Choose one person who lives by craft, not by hype. Someone steady, someone who does not perform wisdom, someone who has built something real. You do not need a crowd. You need one honest mirror. Tell them what you are building. In simple terms, no big language, no destiny speech. Say, I am committing to this daily habit for 7 days. I want you to hold me to it. Then follow through. This is how you keep yourself from drifting into fantasy. Accountability keeps the signal on the ground. And if you cannot find that person, you can still do this. Write a daily check-in to yourself. 2 lines only. Line 1, what did I produce today? Line 2, what will I produce tomorrow? 2 lines. This is enough to build integrity. Integrity becomes confidence. Confidence becomes calm. Calm is what allows a signal to mature. Now, let us address something directly. Some of you are afraid that if you do not call yourself chosen, you will lose the feeling. You will lose the spark. You will lose the sense of direction. That fear is normal, but it is also a misunderstanding. A real signal does not disappear when you stop talking about it. It becomes stronger. It becomes stronger because you are feeding it with action. And action is the language the field responds to. If the spark was only sustained by attention, it was not a signal. It was a mood. A mood asks to be entertained. A signal asks to be honored. Honor is consistency. So keep it simple. 1 habit, 7 days. 2 lines of tracking, basic body care. That is enough to start. Then let the field respond. And it will respond not with fireworks. With alignment, you will feel less scattered. You will feel less needy. You will feel more precise. You will start to trust yourself again. Trust is the real miracle. Trust makes you unstoppable quietly. Now, if you are listening and you feel resistance, that is important too. Resistance does not always mean you should stop. Sometimes it means you are close to the edge where your identity changes. But do not confuse resistance with self-punishment. You do not need to become harsh. You need to become consistent. Consistency can be gentle. It can be humane. It can include rest. It can include recovery. What it cannot include is self-betrayal. Self-betrayal is when you keep promising and never delivering. If you stop self-betrayal, the signal stops feeling heavy. It starts feeling cleaned. Clean energy is the kind you can build a life with. So if this message found you at the right time, do not rush to make it inspirational. Make it operational. Choose the habit. Do the 7 days. Track the proof. Protect the body. Stay quiet. Build the craft. Then watch what happens. Not in your imagination, in your schedule, in your relationships, in your output, in your stability. That is the only verification that matters. If you want to go deeper, keep one question in front of you each morning. What problem can I solve today, and for who? Not someday. Today, even if the answer is small, act on it. Small service repeated becomes skill. Skill becomes value. Value becomes opportunity. Opportunity is how new timelines open. And if you are still unsure whether you are chosen, do not force certainty. Earn it. Earn it with a week of discipline. Earn it with a month of output. Earn it with a season of quiet work. The field respects receipts. If you are ready for that kind of proof, stay close. Keep building, keep refining, keep your signal grounded. I am here